Sound the alarms, guys. I've got emergency Atlas propaganda here. This needs to be showed off right now. Me and my buddy Chicken, you probably see him commenting sometimes. It's like CH1KN underscore tenders. He is my goat. We just thought up of this build right here. And I honestly, I'm just going to show the builds really fast, and then we're going to show gameplay before people leave the video.
Service your weapons myself.
And then one more. Okay. Into the gameplay. Immediately. We're starting off this video with gameplay immediately. I need you guys to see this so you know that you need to try Atlas. There's no better way to start this video. Grendel throwing it back. Yes, indeed, Chicken. Here we go. Guys, I present Atlas in a way you probably haven't seen him before. Me personally, never have. But we cooked. Guys, we are using Atlas's 4th augment called Rumbled. We are also utilizing the Shade Prime because this isn't considered an attack to stay invisible once we're in it. This allows us to utilize Arcane Crepuscular for additional ability strength and additional critical multiplier. This ability has a base damage of, I'm not even kidding, 100, and these are the numbers you are seeing. This is a very unique way of playing Atlas, and I think this definitely deserves the propaganda title, which I think is going to be like my style of like perfected videos and just weird videos of builds I think you guys definitely should give a try that I think are unique. I don't think there's too much more to show here other than the fact that this is literally insane. Might have some difficulties with Eximus, but I promise you Acolytes are not a problem. You can expect to, at minimum, 2-shot an Acolyte. 1-shots, probably possible. Don't really see a reason why they wouldn't be. Actually, just modded more ability strength. I don't know why it wouldn't be at all. We are using Infested Mobility on this build. Unfortunately, the augment does not let you jump, but it does allow you to roll. So, Infested Mobility just felt like the best element for this guy, just so we can stay active and stay moving. But if you would like to do even more damage, Roar is a fantastic option because unlike Atlas's 1, instead of just killing enemies, sometimes we're 2-shotting. So you are often upkeeping your melee influence. As you guys can see, that's what allows us to be a 20-meter AoE nuke, and it's just incredibly strong. And if you guys know anything about Roar, you know it's like faction damage, so it's going to double dip on those DOTs, and it's going to make these electricity procs do stupid amounts of damage. And yeah, that's the gameplay. We're going to go back to more gameplay, and we're going to talk more about the build once we are in gameplay again. But I wanted to start off this video showing gameplay just so you guys can see the utter absurdity of this Atlas build and how much I want you guys to try it. We are going to head to the simulacrum now, and we're going to discuss further into this build, why we're using what we're using, the helmets we're using and why we're using it, our companion of choice and the mods that we have on that companion, and our weapon on our companion. And yeah, let's do it. This Atlas video was originally going to be just a regular Atlas video, like one that you see everywhere on the internet, except I was not going to use influence because I wanted to show off just how strong you can be for raw damage. But then me and Chicken cooked this up, and this video needed to come out right now. I am sorry to the people that I promised the Trinity video to and the Revenant video to. They are in the works, they're coming. And expect some goofy stuff on the Revenant build and a really strong build on the Trinity. Okay. For the build that we just showed gameplay for, let's talk about it. This utilizes the Rumbled Augment. I do not see anybody ever talking about this. And for good reason. As Invasions, if you guys don't know who he is like one of the goats of Warframe content. Unfortunately, he does not upload much anymore, but if you guys want to go back and see some of his old content, it is super duper informative. Unfortunately, a lot of it doesn't apply to Warframe today, as this game is constantly changing. But he posted a video on this, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, but it's not great. Well, fast forward to when Melee Arcanes got added, and oh boy, Oh boy, is this great, especially when you take into the fact that this now scales off of what you have on Landslide. You can do some pretty crazy stuff. Okay, so Rumbled. Rumbled gives you Overguard. That is supposed to be your survivability when you were in it, but that survivability isn't great, especially if you're attacking. As you guys can see, I'm dead. But sorry, Shade kind of ruined that test because I went invisible anyways. But Overguard on cast when you're only getting, I say only, it's still a lot, 5,000 Overguard. But if you play this game, you know that is really only. Um, is not great. There's no way of getting more Overguard with this ability, and that's fair because it's a one-time cast. It doesn't cost more while you're casting the ability or whenever you're attacking with it. And if you mod duration, I mean, mine has 57 seconds of duration right now for only 155 energy, and you're getting killing out of it. You're getting survivability out of it. It's just stupid. It's very stupid. Notably, let's talk about what we're using in our aura slot. It's a no shock. I am using combat discipline again. Um, it's incredibly strong. This ability has 35% crit chance. I would absolutely abuse that by building as much crit chance as possible. If you guys want to use hot shot and you guys can find an alternate form of survivability, and you want to use Doriga to proc that hot shot, you absolutely can. We are using Arcane Crepuscular. The reason why we're using Arcane Crepuscular is because we are using Shade. Shade allows you to go invisible if you are not attacking and if you have stood by enemies or stood within enemies range for 24 in 20 bleh. If you're within 24 meters range of enemies, you will go invisible and it stays on for a while even after you leave that range. That's pretty much all that matters. You can also use the Kubro that makes you go invisible to proc this, and then the only other mod I'd say that matters too much on this build is going to be Tenacious Bond. Obviously, Vacuum's nice, Guardian's nice, Prime Regen's nice, but the other stuff really, really, really isn't necessary for this video. Tenacious Bond. This requires your companion weapon to have 50% crit chance. For that, I utilize the Prime Laser Rifle. As with Point Strike, you get exactly 50% crit chance, and you guys can see I have a bunch of statuses modded onto this. This doesn't matter. Only thing that matters here is Point Strike. Okay. Let's go back to the Warframe. You now know why we're using both the Arcanes that we are using and why we are using the Aura. Let's talk about the Exilus mod. Preparation. If you have never played Harrow before, if you have never used this mod before, I'll just tell you guys it's heavenly. To spawn into a mission with max energy, especially when you have such a high energy pool of 755, it is so extremely comfortable. It allows you to use your full ability cycle when you start the mission, so there's no hiccups in your gameplay going down at the beginning of the match or anything weird about the beginning of the match compared to, let's say, the mission compared to like halfway through it. Absolutely lovely ability to have, especially with infested mobility. If you just want to use this build for blasting through missions, go for it. It's fun. Notably, the reason why we're not using Prime Surefooted on this build is because we are not Nightmare Frame, and because our passive gives us knockdown immunity. This is incredibly strong, and it's when you're grounded. Guess what? With this build, we can't jump, so there is literally no reason to run Prime Surefooted. People can argue on the base build why you would run Prime Surefooted because you might be jumping in the air. And if you are, I understand that. It even happens sometimes I get knocked down and I see the value to that. But on this build, zero reason to. If you are using Prime Surefooted, you are using the wrong ability in slot. If you want to use something different, you can use ability strength. But it's 15%, guys. And that 15% is not outweighing the positives of just starting the mission with stupid amounts of energy. Especially because your fourth ability costs 155 energy, which is a lot. And you also have your second ability, which costs 77 energy, which is a lot. So, yeah. Let's talk about the rest of the mods. We have duration for comfort. Not mandatory, because the duration of this ability by default is 45 seconds. That is incredibly long. But it's just nice to have, and it boosts our duration of our infested mobility. We have Blind Rage. Blind Rage combines well with Equilibrium, uh, especially with Combat Discipline. If you were not having Overguard, you have Overguard, so Combat Discipline is just attacking your Overguard, so there's no reason to not run max level Combat Discipline. I'm kind of just doing this as a flex because I've got 18 form on. Not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. It, for all intents and purposes, the build would work exactly the same, just like this. Uh, Blind Rage, super nice. Good for damage. It's going to be really good for your mobility speed with your 2, but mainly boosting your 4. We have Rumbled. We discussed what Rumbled's doing. It is going ahead and putting you into, or we actually kind of didn't. It is putting you, or turning you into one of the Rumblers. It is putting all those stones, wrapping it around you, and it allows you to throw stones. These stones have base 100 damage before modding comes into play and before your melee weapons. I mean, before your landslides modding. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. Let's show this off again against some enemies. Notably, I cannot jump with this on. I can only just run and roll. But against some enemies, you can see it is really strong. This is without any combo built up. This is without casting it with Crepuscular up. There's the type of damage you can expect to see from an ability with 100 base damage. It notably scales with mods, so it's not like we're staying at 100. Prime Flow. Prime Flow pairs really well with with Prime Preparation. Imagine, guys, we start off with 200% energy. That'd be great. Yeah, Prime Flow, reason why we're using that is because we are using 4 purple shards for critical damage. And if you get to 500% energy, 500 energy, then you get a double what that stat says. So 74 crit chance per shard, or crit damage per shard, which is incredibly strong. We are using casting speed. Casting speed is just nice to have. You do not need to have this. If you want to use purple shards, go for it. You want to just get even more damage out of this build, absolutely can. Notably, infested mobility. This is not needed. It is fun. It's not needed. You can use Roar. I'm not going to showcase Roar. Everybody knows what Roar does. What I'm here to showcase is what this augment does and how strong it is now that you can use Arcanes with it and with just the rework of Atlas's kit in general. Light rework. Light rework. Changes to his build. We are using Rush for movement speed. This allows us to run around even quicker when we are in our 4. It's super nice to have. That is notably going to only be on this build. We do have a second build in this video for normal Atlas, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Umbral Intensify for more ability strength. You do not need an Umbral Former for this build. Just run a max level version of Combat Discipline. We also have Equilibrium. At this. Nice to have. You are going to be on max energy basically the whole mission, though. Anyways. So if you want to change this around and tweak what I'm doing here with these 3 mods, you absolutely can. We have Transient Fortitude, which is also kind of why we're running Continuity, because we don't want to run below 100% duration, because that's not great, especially with Infested Mobility. But this is just even more ability strength. So as you guys can see, we are at 298, which puts us to 328 once Crepuscular is up. So that is ridiculously high ability strength. Notably, let's move on to the Landslide Fists. This is how your damage works with your 4th. This is what I found works the best. Notably, though, Condition Overload does work multiplicatively with this 4th ability augment. So if you want to prime an enemy and absolutely do stupid amounts of damage, replacing focus energy with Condition Overload is a great idea. Absolutely great idea. I am not doing that. I would like more electricity weighting, which means more influence going off. It's just what works best for me because I'm not priming enemies. So do what you want, whatever works. We are using Galvanized Elementalist for status damage. You also can throw a Bane onto this build. I'd let you guys decide where that would go personally. You could also just replace this with a Bane or just this with a Bane, depending on what you're doing with the multiplicative CO. Modding range on this does not matter because you're just throwing balls. Crit chance, status chance, full electricity weighting possible, and base damage. And we are using influence. And that's the build. You guys saw the gameplay for this. We're going to show more gameplay at the end, but that's pretty much it for this build for right now. Now we're going to talk about regular Atlas. Before we move on, we're going to talk about the weapon specifically for this build. We are using the Okina Prime Incarnon. Uh, you could use any Incarnon that has a movement speed boost. The mods on this do not matter. If you guys want to see my build, there it is. It's nothing special whatsoever. It's just a really normal influence build. But this has plus movement speed on it, 30% plus movement speed. That is crazy. Plus the 20% from your Incarnon. Uh, it's amazing. This is literally amazing. This allows us to run around at like Mach speeds, 1 or 2s up. And this is without the additional 30% ability strength from Crepuscular. We can run so fast, roll so fast. Remember, when you're in your 4, can't do parkour, so having this is extremely nice for this build because you are not really going to be able to do bullet jumping, double jumping, jumping in general. It's a bit of a challenge for him. Uh, we already touched on the Shade build, so that's kind of it for this build. Let's move on to the second Atlas build, the main Atlas build. Uh, this build is notably using Nourish. Nourish is really, really fantastic on this build for keeping up your energy just because you only need energy during specific times, and that's at the beginning, which is why Preparation is fantastic on this build again. Uh, Nourish is going to give us more energy orb effectiveness per orb. It's also going to help us out with our shield gating by staggering enemies when they shoot at us. Uh, and it's going to boost the damage of our 1. If you guys don't know how regular Atlas works, show that off. And this build will be using the Doriga. And we'll show off these builds real quick, but I'm just going to kind of show off how regular Atlas works compared to that version of Atlas. Press 1 on your keyboard, and everything dies. And we're not even on the right build right now. Pretty crazy stuff. Okay, let's talk about the build. 2 shield gating mods. After Ekrot Encore, when everything got reworked with the pseudo exalts and all that crap happened, they changed it to where you do not have health invulnerability on Atlas. You have like true invulnerability, meaning your shields are also invulnerable. These 2 mods are not needed nearly as much as they were before, but if you're going to higher level content, they absolutely are a highly suggested 2 mods because it's going to mean that if your shields somehow do go down in between when you're invulnerable and punching, you will absolutely be able to recover that shield while you are punching another enemy. Super strong. We are using Blind Rage once again. Our efficiency doesn't really matter because we have Nourish. Orgaze. Orgaze is awesome. This turns Atlas into a loot frame, and it scales with ability strength. So if you get an invigoration for ability strength, you can have them doing crazy looting, crazy pilfering. It's also going to scan enemies in your codex, so you're going to get more orbs. You're scanning enemies in your codex. Uh, Good stuff. I mean, what's not to love? And it's just more loot. So if you want to use him as like a pseudo looting frame, just kind of chill, he can absolutely do it. And you are going to be spamming Petrify, so having an additional reason to use Petrify and a reminder to use it more is nice. An incentive, rather. Prime Flow, once again, combined with Preparation. Fast Deflection. Sorry, we already talked about that. We are using Umbral Intensify for further ability strength. Rubble Heap. Rubble Heap is an incredible augment. When you get your meter, talk about his meter. Look bottom right. You see that little stone surrounded in a circle? Probably barely visible. If I press my 3, this is petrifying enemies. If I kill said petrified enemies, my meter grows, which gives me armor. What growing that meter is doing, other than just giving me armor, is building me towards this augment. If I get to 1400, by the way, it maxes out at 1500. If I get to 1400, my 1 will cast faster. It like the distance, like covering distance with it is quicker. It is incredible. So strong. And you will deal double damage. And it will cost no energy. This is what I mean by like once you get to a certain point, you will no longer need Nourish. And like having energy at the beginning of the mission is extremely strong. That's why we're running Preparation and Flow. Just to get rolling. Just to get the ball rolling. Incredibly strong. this in mission is so good. Let's just show it off at full power here. We're going to switch to the proper landslide build here. We'll also go back over this again. And pause the AI just to make this easier so I can get this going really quick. 3. Punch, punch. Okay, everything's dead. On in another group. Punch, punch. I mean, everything's dead again. This is Atlas for you. Not sure why people aren't saying to use him. You guys are seeing these damage numbers. They're incredibly strong. Now that we are at max meter, you guys can see how fast the 1 will cast. Incredibly quick. And you're also seeing how incredibly strong this is. Let's talk about our arcanes, because we have some expensive options here. We are using Arcane Hotshot on this build. You might be thinking, how is that being utilized? Because you do not have heat in your base kit, and you do not have a helmet like Null Star with Neutron Star to get heat. Well, with Doriga, you can absolutely get some heat going. Doriga's Arc Coil is an ability, and this will this will count towards Arcane Hotshot, and this is going to go ahead and use whatever statuses are on your weapon. So if you have heat on your weapon, this right here, so really the only 2 mods that matter on this prime laser rifle for the entire purpose of this whole video, is going to be heat and point strike. There's no better way of me describing this other than just showing it off. I'm going to spawn in a group of enemies, and I'm just going to hang out. Any minute now. Might need to attack for him to do his thing. Okay. Do I need to use the miter? Alright. This is chalked, guys. Here we go. Getting our coil going. You do have to attack for him to actually do this, which does work with your 1, by the way. If I use my 1, it would start doing this as well. As you guys can see, I'm already at 50 on Arcane Hotshot, which is going to get me into crazy critical ranges right there. As you guys can see, because we have 35% base crit chance, we're already seeing red crits at 0 combo. That is insanely strong. Crazy stuff. And then once again, we're using Avenger for combat discipline. So yes, here's the Doriga build. Once again, Tenacious Bond to benefit from the 50% crit chance coming from this for further critical multiplier. Prime Regen, Electro Pulse, which is going to be even more craziness going on with the statuses. Guardian, Vacuum, just Manifold Bond, Momentous Bond, kind of normal stuff here. And we also are getting more orb drops with this as well, with Synth Destruction. That is the Doriga build. This is the Prime Laser Rifle build. This is as many statuses as I can get on it. Continuous Misery. Shivering Contagion is good if you would like to just have cold instead of viral. I do not have that currently, but that is an option. Further spread stuff. Let's move on to what this weapon, like the weapon that this video is going to be paired with at first. The Miter. The Miter is really strong. Here's my Incarnon evolutions. It's really strong. The reason why it's really strong specifically on Atlas is because of this right here. This is a Steel Meridian augment for this weapon that allows you to just kill nullifier fields. Let's show what that looks like. If I spawn 2 nullifiers into this battle group, and I want to just go in and like punch enemies, I'm gonna see that these nullifiers, like if I walk into here, I can't punch, but just in between my punches, I can just click 1 on my mouse, and there goes the nullifiers. I don't have to like continuously shoot at them. Nothing weird. It's gonna guarantee happen. Okay, not guarantee, but it's a really high percentage chance, especially with my Riven here. Good lord, I shouldn't be shown with a Riven. We have 1.8 multi-shot base, so you're going to be 80% of the time shooting a second shot with this. and each of those shots has 90% chance of breaking it. And then if you get kills with it, which I'm going to show you guys is extremely easy, and keep up the multi-shot, breaking those nullifier fields is going to be extremely easy. And let's show this with the Incarnon. And I think the strongest way of doing that is going to be by showing it to you guys with 20 nullifiers. That's a lot of nullifiers, but this can deal with it. I mean, is that not incredible? There's no weapon in the game that can break nullifier fields quite like that. Absolutely great to pair on frames like Gara, like Excal, and like Atlas. Those are the ones that notably come to mind right now. There's obviously a lot more that are like that as well. But these are the initial ones that come to mind. Absolutely build this thing. Here is, if you guys can. It's not like necessary with this build at all. It's just like I'm showing this off as like a nice synergy. Specifically with this second build, which is the normal build, using his fists. On the build that I showcased gameplay of already, using the miter is, this might sound weird, not great. Using any other weapon with this build is not great, because if you're not paying attention to your duration and you accidentally shoot your weapon, which is pretty easy to do because you're just spamming mouse 1 while you are using this augment, you can accidentally shoot your gun, which will end your invisibility with Shade. Because if you attack, the way Shade is supposed to work is it removes your invisibility. This augment isn't normally like coded as an attack. There's a couple other frames that have interactions like this, like Excal, where you can use slash dash and you stay invisible. I have a video about that if you guys want to see that. It's really awesome. Really recommend you guys give it a watch if you're interested. But notably, I would not run this build with a weapon unless you have really good self-control and like you are paying attention to your fourth duration. Back to the first build, and the miter build. Miter's pretty standard. Here we have viral. We are using Prime Firestorm because the the Incarnon changes it to be like massive. We'll just showcase it again against an Orokin battle group. It's homing glaives. Instead of it just being like little glaive gun, you are shooting ricocheting, homing, explosive glaives. So having that blast radius is going to make it even stronger against breaking nullifiers. Really strong. So would absolutely use Prime Firestorm here. It benefits from it very well. We are using Galvanized Chamber. We are not using Galvanized Aptitude, as it's not going to do anything unless it is direct hit. And you're not always going to be direct hitting with this thing, so it just doesn't feel like a good thing to slot for me. Here we have Viral. We have Vital Sense for critical damage, Critical Delay for critical chance, Neutralizing Justice for getting rid of those nullifier fields, and this slot is a flex slot. You can use whatever you want. If you have a Riven, throw it on. Really cheap to get Rivens for this weapon. Extremely cheap. And then last we have Terminal Velocity, and then we also have Primary Merciless. If you guys want to mod Fire Rate for this slot, you absolutely can, as it's going to make getting rid of the nullifier fields a little bit easier. I am outsourcing Fire Rate to my companion 90% of the time with, okay, I'm not this time. How about that? I just lied. If you use Reinforce Bond, you can get 60% fire rate. So if you want to outsource it to your companion and replace anything here, you absolutely can. That is this build. I'm not going to show gameplay with this build. Just know it does allow you to exclamation point red crits on Atlas, which is so incredible. And the damage numbers, I like testing against shielded enemies earlier. I was seeing like 37 million. So you can expect it to be extremely strong. This is not a melee influence build, as I feel like building melee influence on him is a mistake. You should just be getting that massive damage, big dopamine hits, and Nourish felt best for this build, personally, for getting rolling at the beginning, and for the extra damage boost once you are rolling. That is this build, and that's kind of both builds. I am now going to go back to showing gameplay and some closing thoughts here. Full 5-minute run, killing Acolyte with that build that I showcased at the beginning of the video, the Rumbled build. We're going to be switching back to Shade here, and that is it, and taking off the miter. We're back on this build here, and let's just get into the gameplay. We're going to be going to Saturn, We're going to be doing a survival on the Grenier ship tile set, and it's going to be absolute destruction and fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed the videos recently. I did not go on that trip with my family because I was feeling quite awful. I really wanted to go. It's my favorite city in the United States, but it's just really wasn't feeling good, and it's kind of starting to hit a little bit right now, actually, again. But I really wanted to get this video out because it is an emergency. This build is amazing. Shout out to my goat Chicken Tenders helping me theory craft this build. He's helped theory craft and test so many builds with me, helped me level so many builds back before I really learned that I could just level stuff myself. And I'm absolutely using the wrong build on Atlas Fist. Guys, you gotta love it. You gotta love me posting garbage content. You absolutely gotta love it. Brendel love handles, absolutely, chicken. Here you go. Back to the other fist build. Great melee influence. Notably, with the fourth ability, if you're using Rumble to kill, it does not work with melee exposure. So if you were wanting to go for a raw damage build on that and not wanting to use influence for some reason, I understand because influence spam is a little crazy, but this is such a unique build. It's like, why not? Giving it that extra boosted KPM is really nice. But don't try to use melee exposure. It does not work. If you want to use melee vortex to suck enemies in, that could be a interesting idea. Or you could use, I don't really know. Oh, yes, I do know. Maybe try melee afflictions. You're throwing enemies in the air all the time. It could work well with the statuses and stuff, so maybe give that a try. Not sure if it works. I didn't get to test that myself. As you guys can see, we are comfortably invisible and with overguard here. We are absolutely obliterating the enemies. We're going to be at 100 kills here quick, exceeding the 100 KPM marker. You guys are seeing mainly red crits with some orange crits mixed in. Guys, I can't talk. Goodness. Really strong build, not even requiring you to use anything else. As you just saw right there, my ability ended and I was still spamming mouse 1. So if you do not recast that quick enough and you accidentally shoot a shot with your bullet, you're going to lose your invisibility and leave yourself open for being killed, which is no good. Infested mobility, just extremely nice to have with this, just to get around, because not being able to parkour is a little rough. Oh gosh, it looks like it misses when you're up really close. It is like loosely homing, but if you let it home and you're not aiming, you don't build combo. So you have to actually aim at them and hit them to build combo. Kind of interesting. Something to note there. Be mindful of that. Try to aim the best of your abilities to build up combo. Not that it's hard when you're using Naramon. As you guys can see, Naramon is upkeeping the combo of Atlas's combo, not Atlas's combo of the combo. That doesn't... It's just nice. This is really nice on all the kind of pseudo exalt weapons that are melee. I would absolutely use it on this build because if the enemy density goes down for a little bit, you don't want to lose all of your damage and all your crit tiers and all your status and everything. I want to keep that up as much as you can. You guys can see we are getting good usage out of melee influence. Right now we are 2 minutes in with 300 KPM. I mean, with 300 kills. Imagine 300 KPM, guys. I love lying. I love spreading misinformation. A lot of impact procs there too. Yeah, that's the one thing with this weapon. It does have only impact, so that's why I'm using so many electric mods to boost the weighting of it. Because it's like all statuses are going to be going to impact if you do not mod really, really high electric status chance or electric damage. Gosh, guys, can't talk. What are some other things?
Another life support capsule is now available.
I'm like drawing blanks here. As you guys can see, when I punch with my 1, I'm no longer invisible. Notably, I wanted to talk about that. That was an interaction that did used to exist prior to Tech Rod Encore. Not a thing anymore. That's okay. It opened up the door, I guess, for this. This is incredibly amazing and such a fun, different way of playing Atlas. Uh, just wanted to showcase something really different. This all my unique builds. I'm gonna showcase. What was that? Did you guys see him sliding on his knees like that? And he was like lagging. That was funny. But all of my kind of unique builds, I'm gonna name Propaganda, I think, because that one seemed to do well. And also, I'd like to say that Styanax build was very unique. So that is what I'm gonna do. Unique builds are gonna have Propaganda in the title, and as like my form of like perfected. Shout out Kai, Goat. This is perfected videos. Wow, 3.7 million damage there. That's really impressive. I've not seen that high of a damage number from this yet. Crazy to think this is coming from 100 base damage that we've just modded to Oblivion and buffed to Oblivion. And let's show you guys what it does against an Acolyte. Goodbye. The 2-shot right there. That's pretty impressive right there. Gotta love it. Gotta love the infested mobility. Gotta love Atlas, guys. This is gonna be pretty much it for this video. It was a longer one. I made an initial recording, which I redid because there were some changes that we just made to the build because I read an interaction wrong. I was using a mod that just didn't work on this build, so I changed that. It was range. Range does not scale with the 4th abilities like explosion size, so definitely should not mod range onto this. I was using Archon stretch, which I thought was a really great idea because I'm like, hey, that's gonna give me energy too, because we're getting electricity damage from abilities. So thought it was great, but it wasn't. Such is life. This is the video, guys. This has been Atlas. Thank you guys so much for watching. Can't wait to continue the conversation in the comments, see what you guys would do differently, what you guys are running on Atlas, glazing Atlas, hopefully opening up your eyes to maybe to Atlas in general, but more of just a really unique build, because that's what this video is mainly about. I didn't even show gameplay for this build. I guess just trust me. It's really strong. Exclamation point red crits. Like I said, you can see 37 million damage. That's what I just saw in like 5 minutes of testing. Been running this build for a while. Had a video on my channel for Atlas. I actually notably bought a really expensive Magistar Ribbon back in the day because how much I loved Atlas. He's not even my most played frame by any means, but I just love the frame. Super fun to play. Really just super chill. And especially after Tech Rod Encore, him having the shield invulnerability when you're in 1 makes him so much more relaxing against higher tier enemies. Both of these builds can use Roar for higher level scaling, and both use Influence if you need to. These are the 2 builds that work best for me. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a blessed day, guys.